Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, we are taking a rather serious turn at the moment, but there is a reason for that because we are dealing with TB, tuberculosis, the biggest killer in South Africa. We've covered some of the symptoms, what actually happens in the body. And of course, we've got Dr. Darren Green here joining us, and we want you to give us a shout, 083 9133728. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments on TB and why it is affecting South Africa on the level that it is. What do we do, Doc, to stem the spread? Where is the golden fleece in this one?
Yeah, the question is, where do we start, eh? And I mean, I think the big thing is, if you are aware of someone having active tuberculosis, in other words, someone that has been diagnosed, perhaps started treatment and then stopped due to having compliance issues and so forth, you must remember that they then put the entire population at risk for developing what's called drug-resistant TB. So people that have been diagnosed, that are supposed to be taking treatment, that don't take it like they should, or skip doses or miss it, actually put the entire population at risk. So we need to be aware of the early symptoms, which we've mentioned as things like persistent coughing for longer than 3 weeks, night sweats, weight loss, coughing up any blood, for example, and then chronic fatigue that is inexplainable by other medical causes. And then positive contacts that you've had, that have had active tuberculosis, and prolonged exposure with people that have had TB. Then I'd suggest you get screened or tested just to know, so that you can have early treatment intervention to prevent the complications of TB.
What is that screening process involved? How involved is it?
Yeah, so we start screening in children as well. They do what's called a MAN2 test, which is basically a small injection on the forearm, and we can also then measure the immune response to that. It's measured in millimeters. If that test measured across its width is more than 15 millimeters, that's suggestive of a positive exposure, and due to our load here in the Western Cape, many children get treated then already with a positive MAN2. In adults, we do what's called sputum tests, and in children, we do sputum tests, which involve testing the actual morning sputums, where we do a staining on it, a Zeal-Nielsen stain.
Sputum being your phlegm.
Your phlegm, yes. You cough it up early in the morning, it's the best sample, and then you stain it, look at it under a microscope, identify, you know, obviously the organisms, and then we start making the diagnosis to treat accordingly. The other way is to do what's called a stomach aspirate, where they actually remove the content of the stomach by passing a nasogastric tube, basically in small babies and in adults sometimes, for an accurate diagnosis. And then nowadays we've got even a more advanced test in technology, which is a blood test, which is called the TB quantiferon, the GOLD test. So even on blood and serology, we can now start diagnosing tuberculosis.
Okay, so that at least is one, you know, sort of face of the battle that we seem to be winning. In terms of treatment, what is falling apart? How do we treat the disease, first of all, and what is preventing us from getting to everybody?
From killing
Why do we
it,
have
yes.
such a high incidence still?
I think education is a big part of it. So people don't understand that by having the symptoms and not having it checked out, you're then spreading the disease. People that are diagnosed are not aware of what non-compliance actually leads to in terms of the drug resistance itself. And then, of course, our conditions, our social circumstances in South Africa, running water, overcrowding, for example, power and electricity issues. You can imagine what that leads to in terms of a generalized balanced lifestyle. And how that impacts on the immune system. So those are just a few reasons as to why we aren't winning, and why direct observed treatment, DOT is what they call it, should be the order of the day, where you actually make someone consume the tablets in front of you on a daily basis and have it checked off.
Well, this all says to me, Doc, that we have got to have a collective effort, and I think it looks like in Johannesburg they are doing just that. We're going to be back with the Doc in just a moment. 083 9133728. If you are affected by TB or have any questions, give us a call. But let's find out what the country is doing to start screening South Africans.